Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to be discussing about something that I didn't think I was going to discuss, at least this soon, because, yeah, I really just didn't feel like I was ready to talk about it or that it had made itself clear enough to talk about because I'm kind of going through a phase of transition. I'm going through a phase where things are shifting and I don't know what that's morphing into. I don't know what that looks like. And so I wasn't going to share about it yet. I do feel like while we're in these periods of transition, it can be nice to hear how people are like moving through those periods of transition because, like, a lot of us, no one, in fact, has like everything figured out. We're kind of building this plane as we go. Like, we are building what is going to move through us in this life as we go. Like, I don't think that there's anyone that has it figured out. So I guess I'll just get right into it, and it's going to be about my journey with Reiki, and that's coming to an end, but also like some realizations that I've had recently about deeply why maybe this path wasn't for me. There's many different reasons, and I've had many different kind of like realizations within myself that have like been very uncomfortable to see, and I'm going to be speaking about that today. And because it's uncomfortable and because like it's kind of very icky to look at yourself. Like it's not easy. And like to actually realize some of the things, it's like, wow. Just kind of you're kind of shocked that it can be that way. Maybe it'll make more sense when I'm talking about it. So, for those that don't know, I had made a post that I'm not no longer going to be doing Reiki sessions anymore, and like it was kind of shocking for me to feel this come in and just be like, no, I'm not going to do this anymore because this was kind of why I created like my Soul Search page, and this was what I thought was going to like grow into like something that I thought I would be quitting cleaning because I'm a residential cleaner as well. I thought I would be quitting cleaning, teaching yoga, and having like one-to-one Reiki sessions already. And that is not what happened, clearly. And so as I was having a Reiki session with a client, which would be my last Reiki session. I didn't know it at the time. I just remember feeling like this intense gratitude, this intense level of presence as the Reiki session was going on. And then all of a sudden, there was like this clear knowing. It wasn't like a spectacular voice. It wasn't like a spectacular, it was just like a knowing that this was not going to continue. This was not meant what I meant to do. And to continue doing so would actually be a waste of my time and others. Not that the Reiki sessions weren't beautiful, not that they didn't help people, but that was just what came through. And we finished up the Reiki session. It was a good Reiki session. And then I'm kind of left with this kind of like bombshell that's been dropped on me. And like, to be honest, I was like kind of floored, but like also kind of like, I mean, it makes sense. And as we're on the going down this journey of figuring out our gifts, what we want to show in the world, like how we want to remind people of the light within themselves, like I think it's a very non-linear path. While I was surprised, I was also like, okay, this is just like a pivot. And this pivot brought like a little bit of a relief. Like I had been feeling like Reiki was not going to be my end stop, but I really wanted to keep practicing. I wanted to practice working with the clients. I wanted to have that clients, and I thought that I could just like bloom from there. Like Reiki was the beginning, and I could just like keep going and moving forward with that. And so to realize that made me feel really lost. It made me feel, and still makes me feel lost because I don't know what's next. I don't know what's coming. But it was also like this weight lifted off because like I'm not in this box that I don't fit. Like if this box is a square box and I'm a triangle, I don't fit into like this square box. And so I felt that almost immediately. And it was like, oh, so I mean, that was something that was kind of nice. And so as I'm sitting with this, like this is something that is like unfolding over the course of like the last 1 or 2 months, however long it's been. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, what am I gonna do now? And I'm sitting with myself. One thing I'm learning to do right now is nothing, which is hard for me. I can sit in silence, I can meditate, I can feel into the sensations of my body, but to sit and do nothing, Like that's something that's really hard for me. And so that's something I've been doing. And it's interesting that in the nothingness, you can kind of have like these moments of clarity. So that's something I have been trying to do more. I've also been trying to journal more because I have been very busy. I have been busy learning courses. Really, I haven't stopped learning, and that's been beautiful. But it's also, there's a time of integration that's coming, and that time is now. It started coming a little bit prior, but like now it's time to like just like completely slow down. And so in that slowdown, I've had um, a little bit of clarity come through about maybe just why this pivot or this pause or this beautiful like lost phase is coming. And I know it's beautiful because I can feel the beauty in being lost because you're open. Where like I was really clinging really tightly. So this was one realization that came through. I was clinging really tightly to an outcome that I thought was going to happen. And so in that clinging, like there's no movement for that flow to happen. You know what I mean? If it's like there's no movement for it. And so now I'm like kind of like wide open as to like, okay, what's it going to be? What's my next step? Like what's going to come through? You know what I mean? So that was one thing that I realized. I was clinging. I was clinging to an outcome or a desire that I had and not that doesn't allow the flow. That doesn't allow flow to happen when we're clinging that hard. I also realized that like while Reiki is beautiful and it is needed for me specifically, I don't want to be the person that is feeling all the feelings that because I found that I'm a very empathic feeler. So in Reiki sessions, like I would be able to feel what the people are feeling, like in their body, emotions, things like that. And like at some point, like I would be crying in the Reiki sessions. And I'm not, in my Reiki sessions, I wasn't going to talk during them. And then after, I would like talk about the session after with the clients and see if what came through during that session resonated with them. And like if there was like extreme sadness and it resonated with them, a lot of times there would still not be that same feeling happening from the client. So I was feeling all of this and energy was moving, but the client wasn't always like moving through that same emotion. And of course, people move through things in different ways. However, I found that very interesting. I also noticed that by being in a position of like having people come and see me and like Reiki sessions, they work. They make you feel grounded. That energy is moving, but it's almost like a for me personally, what I witnessed, if people aren't willing to do the work, and this can be like for anything. I shouldn't just say that it's just Reiki, but it's like a band-aid. And so people will feel good and then they don't have to change anything in their lives and they can continue doing whatever they want or whatever they aren't able to see like their blind spots or the patterns or these things. So I was noticing that Reiki doesn't necessarily help bring awareness to people's patterns or bring awareness to people's challenging spots because yeah, even though I may relay some certain information, that doesn't mean that when it leaves the room they're going to do anything different. And so that was something that I noticed. Now, within this contemplation of figuring out also like just like contemplating the silence, contemplating the feeling of being lost, like this feeling of like uncertainty or not knowing or things like that. I had some really big realizations, and maybe they won't sound so big to listeners, but to me, like they were huge. And this is kind of where it gets a little bit sticky. This is kind of where I was like, oh my gosh, this is, yeah, big. Maybe it's not big, but so the first one that's not really as icky to me is I noticed that I was trying to be like someone. I was trying to mimic someone that I had gone to seen and who had helped me move through things. And I was trying to mimic what that person was doing within their sessions, not knowing this. This was all happening like subconsciously. And I didn't even realize this until, yeah, very recently, like a couple weeks ago. So I was trying to mimic this person that I was seeing and like was so grateful to have seen. And I was like, how can I learn what she has learned so that I can provide the same level of sessions, the same kind of way of helping people? And again, in doing that, I put myself in a box because I'm trying to follow what has already been created, what has come through some individual beautifully. But that doesn't mean that that's what's going to come through me. And so as I was clinging to this, I put myself in a box. I also realized that in doing this, so through this, like I put myself in a box, I was trying to be someone that helped me. And I was trying to be someone that really like I wasn't. And so I've talked about this a little bit on my videos, but I have been someone who has really struggled with being a chameleon in life. That's the way that I've always only been able to describe it. Like if you put different backgrounds behind me, I would like blend in and like be whoever people needed me to be in that moment. Like I was afraid of being myself. I was, not able to be me. Like like my personality was that of those around me. That's the only way I can describe it. And as when you grow a business, when you're trying to grow a business, you have to do social media. Like there's in this day and age, it's almost like that is a component that needs to happen. And so I noticed that I was started consuming a lot more social media. I started because like you want to be engaged, you want to be active, but then you're also like looking at these other accounts and looking at how they are like growing their business and growing their presence online and all of this stuff. And so that's also being taken in by me, and I'm allowing that to influence how I want to show up online, right? This one wasn't like a super huge realization, but it is important. And so there were two filters that I was filtering myself through. It's like how these people show up online and how this specific special person that I view as special or viewed as special, like how can I be like this person? How can I do what this person does? And so it's like I thought I had like become not like that chameleon, and I realized that it was just like the same situation but in like a spiritual or that instead of like a personal thing, a personal problem, it becomes like this spiritual cloak of like, yeah, I don't know. I heard the term same person, different clothes recently as I was feeling into this, which was also interesting. So, same person, different clothes. It's like I'm a different person. I'm not a people pleaser when it comes to personal things. Like, I'm not this chameleon. But then in this like area, there was like a sneaky back door where that program, I guess that program from how I used to be was still running. And that's why these things go deep. That's why there are layers. That's why it's like you really got to do the personal work to see these things. Because if you don't do the personal work, you won't see it. And if you're not rigorously honest with yourself, you won't see it. And that's something that flabbergasted me. That's like, wow. To see that like running through was like, okay. That's really important to know. That's really important to see. So, yeah, we have that aspect. I was filtering myself with different filters, putting myself in a box that I don't fit into. I don't know what wants to flow through me, but if I'm trying to be like someone else or I'm trying to be like all these different people, nothing authentic can fully flow through me. Bits and pieces, of course, but nothing fully authentic can flow through me. So, that was one aspect, a couple aspects, I guess, there. And the one that's icky is I realized that my ego was becoming a little bit, I guess, kind of like inflated, not really, but like I was doing things, I was like, it's hard to explain kind of, but I was having sessions that where like information came through or certain things came through that would help the client, and it was like really it was right. However, it became more about like look how right I was, or look at what kind of information I can pick up on, or um yeah, almost like a look at what I can do, or because and I feel like it's not uncommon. Like I don't think this is uncommon. Like as we step into our spirituality or our expansion of like this world where we've been very closed off to not having it, it becomes amazing what we can realize, and like the things within like the energetic realm and our intuition, and like all of these things can become really like you can almost feel like, oh my gosh, my gifts are opening up. I'm special. Like this is a special time for me, whatever it is. And that is true, but also unchecked. That can kind of leave another back door where that ego is going to kind of alter the reason why you're showing up in these spaces. That's kind of what I experienced. And now that I've seen it in myself, I see it in a lot of different people. I don't think a lot of people are aware of that's running underneath themselves. It's like a yes, I can help you, but it's also like a look what I can do. So I noticed that in myself growing, and this was also a pretty recent realization. And so when I noticed that, I was like, holy crap, I have to pull it back completely. Like I have to come back to me. So that was something that was really icky for me to realize. It wasn't comfortable, and it was like not something that I wanted to admit about myself, but very important, I think, that I did. And I think that the last thing that I realized was I jumped into like my healing journey. I wouldn't say it was like super quick, but I began this healing journey, and the things that I started noticing to work within me, I jumped into wanting to provide all those services for other people. And so honestly, I forgot how to enjoy life. Like it's not that I wasn't enjoyable, and like I've very much been like loving life, but I was always focused on like this helping other people, this like this idea of yeah, I just feel like I jumped into the idea of becoming like this practitioner and becoming this like person that can help people move through their whatever they need to move through, like being that person. And I don't think that that's not what I'm supposed to do, but I think I jumped into it too soon. Like I still have so much healing myself to do. I like kind of just scratched the surface. And yeah, I realized that I really just have like a lot more healing of myself to do, and I want to enjoy this time. I want to enjoy the process of coming like into my body, of coming into me, because like as I do that process, whatever wants to flow through me is going to flow through me, and it's going to be authentic, and it's going to be from me. Like whatever that is, that's going to be what wants to pour through my pores into the pores of another individual, right? And to me that's super special, and to me that's super sacred. And you know, there's this like pressure within society. I don't know if it's just in the West, but there's this pressure within society to like have your purpose figured out, and that this purpose is like a certain role, whether it's like a doctor, a yoga teacher, a Reiki practitioner, a chiropractor, like to have your purpose figured out, a dentist, whatever. There's this ultimate purpose on earth that we're here to fulfill, and there's a lot of pressure on that. There's a lot of pressure on fulfilling this, and like that's why a lot of people feel empty, like they don't know their purpose. There's with that pressure being there, we don't realize that in those mundane moments we can be fulfilling that purpose. We don't realize that in those mundane moments we in the grocery store, or I'm a residential cleaner, and so I've been really contemplating this, like, who's to say that my purpose for that day is not to have a certain conversation with one of those cleaning clients. And so it's being open to how, like, that divine love, how, like, God, Jesus, spirit wants to work through you without being attached to what outcome that is. Because who are we to limit the divine? Who are we to limit this consciousness that is so vast it can't be limited? It's our human minds that we limit. And my reason for sharing this to close the video off is because this journey is kind of sticky, and lots of people aren't honest about the sticky parts. Lots of people aren't honest about, like, the things that they realize within themselves. And I want to have rigorous honesty with myself. I want to have rigorous honesty with those around me. And I want people to understand that this journey to the self is sticky. It's not meant to be pretty. It's not meant to be easy. It's not meant to have a path all laid out. Like, the journey to self, the journey to realization, the journey to connecting with God, with ourselves, the journey is not easy. And that can be easily forgotten. But I think I want to dedicate this video to becoming aware of deeper patterns within our lives, within ourselves, subconscious programs that we don't realize are running.